Ever wonder how a company could wield so much power and influence that it could affect entire nations? Yes, there is one, and the name might not be so familiar to all. This is the story of Saudi Aramco and how they hold such massive control over oil trade across the planet.
Basis of politics in Saudi Arabia.
They are always intrinsically tied.
Everybody in Saudi Arabia in one way or another is a beneficiary of Saudi Aramco.
If you're a private company that's run so well, it's painful because you have to answer a lot of questions. But not nearly as painful as after you take people's money.
So, if some of you are not familiar with the name, Saudi Aramco is a Saudi Arabian national petroleum and natural gas company, and it's currently the largest oil company in the world. That's right, you heard me correctly, the largest in the world. With over 270 billion barrels of oil reserves, this giant is bigger than the biggest. But wait, it gets even more impressive. According to the latest reports of 2023, Saudi Aramco's net income for the year was a staggering $213.2 billion. That's more than the GDP of many small countries combined, and this company has a market value of over $2 trillion, making it the most valuable company in the world. But where did this all start? Or should we ask, from where did Saudi Arabia begin its real growth? After watching today's episode, you'll get to know how the young leaders of the nation went from camels to Cadillacs. You see, it all started in 1933, when a Saudi government granted an oil concessions to a little-known American company called Standard Oil of California. In the 1930s, oil was just starting to become a valuable commodity, and Saudi Arabia had plenty of it. The discovery of oil in Saudi Arabia led to the creation of Saudi Aramco, and the country's wealth started to grow. Now, back then, this was the industrial empire of John D. Rockefeller and Associates, controlling almost all oil production, processing, marketing, and transportation in the United States. Rockefeller and Associates controlled almost all oil production, processing, marketing, and transportation in the United States. Now, fast forward to the 1950s, and we see the first real signs of the oil boom in Saudi Arabia. At the time, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was still largely underdeveloped and with no real infrastructure to support the oil industry. But that all changed with the growth of Saudi Aramco. The company brought in new technologies and developments, which not only made the extraction process more efficient, but also helped develop the country as a whole. And to support all of this innovation, one of the biggest projects was the construction of the Trans-Arabian Pipeline, which transported oil from Saudi Arabia to the Mediterranean Sea. This pipeline was a massive undertaking and required significant investment from Saudi Aramco, but it was worth it. It gave the company greater control over the oil market and helped to solidify its position as a major player in the industry. Another major development was the creation of the King Fahd University of Petroleum and Minerals. This university was founded in 1963 and was dedicated to teaching students about the oil industry. You could say it was a way of Saudi Aramco to give back to the community by providing education and opportunities for young people to join the workforce. But it wasn't just about the infrastructure. Saudi Aramco also played a crucial role in the development of Saudi Arabia's society. As the company grew its markets, it brought in workers from all over the world, creating a diverse community. This helped to modernize the country and introduce new ideas and technologies. Another one of the most significant social changes that came with the growth of Saudi Aramco was the introduction of women into the workforce. Before the company's arrival, women in Saudi Arabia had very few job opportunities. But with the arrival of foreign workers, women began to find work as teachers, nurses, and even engineers. Yes, this was a significant shift for the country and helped to pave the way for greater gender equality. Over the years, the company has grown and evolved, changing the name to Saudi Aramco in 1988 and expanding its operations beyond just oil production. But what does all this mean for the global oil market? Well, Saudi Aramco's rise to power has had a massive impact on the industry as a whole. As one of the world's largest oil producers, the company had the power to influence prices and supply levels, which in turn affected the entire global economy. As Saudi Aramco's production increased, it started to dominate the global oil market. The company's rise to power and a significant impact on the global economy, and it's still felt today. Saudi Arabia's oil production affects the price of oil worldwide, and Saudi Aramco is in the forefront of this industry. But it's not just the global oil market that was affected by the rise of Saudi Aramco. As we said before, the company's success led to significant developments in Saudi Arabia itself. Now, even though the big brand had set a huge position in the market, the company also faced many challenges. You see, one of the major challenges that Saudi Aramco faced was the harsh climate. Saudi Arabia is known for its scorching hot weather, and working in such conditions can be tough, especially when you're dealing with the oil. The machinery would overheat and the workers would suffer from heat exhaustion. But again, Saudi Aramco didn't let this stop them. They developed new techniques and technologies to keep the machinery running, and they even provided their workers with proper gear and hydration to combat the heat. But wait, there's more. Saudi Aramco faced another challenge that many of us can obviously guess. It's competition. Yes, you heard that right. Even a giant like Saudi Aramco had to face competition. There were other oil companies out there, and they all wanted a piece of the pie. But you know what Saudi Aramco did? They simply outperformed them. First and foremost, they had a clear vision of their company. They knew that they wanted to become the world's largest oil producer, and they set out to achieve that goal with a laser-like focus. And they did it by investing heavily in their infrastructure and technology. One of the things that set Saudi Aramco apart from its competitors was its commitment to innovation. They were always looking for new ways to extract oil more efficiently, and they weren't afraid to take risks. For example, they were one of the first companies to start using horizontal drilling techniques, which allowed them to access oil reserves that were previously inaccessible. But it wasn't just their technology that made them successful. It was also their people. As we said before, Saudi Aramco was known for its strong culture of teamwork and collaboration. They believed that everyone had a role to play in the company's success, and they worked hard to create an environment where everyone felt valued and empowered. Another thing that helped Saudi Aramco outperform its competitors was its close relationship to the Saudi government. The government was heavily invested in the success of the company and to provide the company with the support and resources it needed to thrive. Of course, it wasn't always smooth sailing for Saudi Aramco. There were challenges along the way, including political instability in the region and fluctuations in the price of oil. But they weathered the storm and emerged stronger than ever. Now, how much power does Aramco play in today's nations? Now, that might be the question popping up in everyone's head, right? Well, Aramco had been around for over 80 years now, and it's been making some pretty big moves from back then. I would say a huge part has been played by this one company in shaping the oil market today and even the prices. In fact, Aramco produces more oil than any other company in the world, so that's obviously possible. This means that Aramco has a huge amount of power, not just in the oil industry, but also in the global economy. And with this, Aramco has the ability to control the price of oil. This is because they produce so much of it, if they decided to reduce their production, the price of oil will go up. On the other hand, if they increase their production, the price of oil will go down. But that's not all. Aramco also has the power to influence politics. You see, many countries rely heavily on oil imports, and Aramco is one of their main suppliers. This means that if Aramco was to stop supplying oil to a particular country, that country would be in major trouble. In fact, Aramco has been known to use their power in the past to influence political decisions. For example, they've been known to use their oil as a bargaining chip in negotiations with other countries. Now, you might be thinking, wow, that's a lot of power for one company to have. And you're right, it is. In fact, some people have even argued that Aramco has too much power and that it needs to be regulated. Now, how do they plan on doing that? Well, I guess we need to slow down on that. Maybe we'll take that as a topic for another day. So, folks, this is the real story behind the most valuable company in the world. From humble beginnings as a small oil company to become the most powerful and influential company in the world. This is something. Well, let's be real. The real question on everyone's mind is, how do I get in on this oil billionaire action, right? I guess that won't be that easy unless you find another country with a pretty vast oil reserve. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Do drop your views in the comment section below. We'll catch you in the next episode. Until then, stay tuned.